All right, things are really heating up here today as we ask a pretty massive question. Can the veteran wisdom of 1982 really hold its own against the hyper-optimized youth of 2026? Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping straight into a fascinating explainer that contrasts two drastically different eras of the world's biggest sporting event. We're going to look at how the game has completely evolved from an era of raw grit and seasoned veterans to this modern high-tech spectacle defined by data and teenage prodigies. To really wrap our heads around this, just think about the sheer age difference for a second. Back in '82, you had Italy's legendary goalkeeper Dino Zoff. At 40 years and 133 days old, he proved that age and experience were absolutely invaluable assets, leading his team to total glory. But flash forward to 2026, and you've got a staggering new reality. You've got players like Mexico's Gilberto Mora stepping onto the pitch. He's just 17 years and 240 days old. There's literally over a 25-year age gap between him and the oldest players today. The youth are, quite literally, taking over the world stage. And the wild thing is, Mora isn't just an exception. This modern tournament features a staggering 891 debutants. Think about that. Nearly 900 players are stepping onto this global stage for the very first time. They're walking into what we can definitely call the age of optimization. It's a completely different universe now, you know? We're talking advanced analytics, real-time tracking, AI-assisted scouting, and hyper-monitored recovery cycles.
But hold on, before we get completely swept away by sports science and analytics, let's rewind a bit. Let's actually look at how Italy's 1982 veteran squad set a standard for dominance that modern teams are honestly still chasing today. Because back then, it wasn't about sprint frequency or heart rate monitors. It was all about wisdom, incredible game management, and just pure mental fortitude.
Take Paolo Rossi, for instance. His story is it's wild. The guy wasn't even supposed to be playing. He was returning from a 2-year ban, and the Italian manager caught a ton of flack for picking him. But Rossi, he totally silenced the critics. Up against a heavily favored Brazil team, a team that literally only needed a draw to advance, Rossi was absolute perfection. He nets a legendary hat trick to sink them 3-2. And he didn't stop there. He snagged the Golden Boot as the top scorer, grabbed the Golden Ball as the best player, and led Italy straight to a 3-1 victory over West Germany in the final.
And speaking of that final, that 3-1 win was an absolute masterclass in veteran game management. It also gave us one of the most iconic moments in sports history, Marco Tardelli's emotional, screaming celebration. After scoring from range to put Italy up 2-0, Tardelli's just completely lost it. Arms wide, hair flying, shaking his head in pure, unbridled disbelief. It was the ultimate expression of passion, decades of experience and hard work finally paying off on the biggest stage imaginable. But here's the thing. Underneath that polished Italian masterclass, the 1982 tournament as a whole was absolute chaotic madness compared to what we see in 2026. If today is the age of optimization, 1982 was, without a doubt, the Wild West of football.
Seriously, some of the stuff that went down back then sounds totally made up to a modern fan. You had brutal, bone-crunching collisions, like Germany's Harald Schumacher literally launching into France's Patrick Battiston, that somehow went completely unpunished by the ref. No yellow, no red, nothing. You had Kuwait's Royal Sheikh literally walking out onto the pitch to successfully protest a goal. Then you had massive, unpredictable upsets, like Northern Ireland beating host nation Spain 1-0, even though they were down to 10 men. Oh, and England's Brian Robson scoring a goal a mere 27 seconds into a match.
And to really cap off the sheer chaos of that year, consider the number 10. Hungary set a record in '82 that remarkably still stands today. They destroyed El Salvador 10-1 in a single match. It is the first and only time a team has ever hit double figures in one tournament game. I mean, just imagine trying to pull off a blowout like that against today's AI-scouted, tactically rigid defenses. No way. Okay, but the absolute craziest event of '82, it wasn't a reckless tackle or a massive blowout. It was a match so utterly controversial, it actually earned the nickname the Disgrace of Gijón. This was a bizarre scenario where two teams essentially just stopped playing competitive football. Let's break down exactly how this scandal unfolded, because it genuinely changed the sport forever. So West Germany is playing Austria. Now, Algeria had already played their final group match the day before. Because of that, both Germany and Austria knew exactly what math they needed. A 1-0 German win would safely qualify both of them and knock out Algeria. Sure enough, Horst Hrubesch scores for Germany just 10 minutes in. And then, having hit that magic mutually beneficial scoreline, both teams effectively just stopped attacking for the next 80 minutes. They just casually passed the ball around. Fans were absolutely furious. One guy even burned his own flag in the stands out of pure disgust, as Algeria was unfairly eliminated.
And this blatant manipulation is the exact reason why the modern game operates the way it does. Back then, staggering the final matches allowed teams to manipulate the known results. But today, in 2026, FIFA ensures that all final group stage matches are strictly played simultaneously. Kicking off at the exact same minute completely prevents anyone from exploiting the math like they did in Gijon.
It really leads us to a fascinating realization about how sports evolve. Many of the rules we have today exist simply because someone, at some point, found a loophole and completely exploited it. The highly structured, technologically advanced setup we see today, it was all born out of a direct reaction to the scandals and the sheer chaos of decades past. So that leaves us with one really big question to ponder. 1982 was all about veteran grit and stretching the old rules to their absolute breaking point. But 2026? It's all about big data, recovery cycles, and hyper-optimized 17-year-olds. With 891 debutants totally rewriting how the game is played on the field, what untouched boundaries are they going to push next? What new rules will this generation inevitably force FIFA to write? Think about that for a second. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a fresh perspective on how drastically the game has changed. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.